Warhammer with Sheeb here. Sheeb here bringing you another Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report. This time we are going to look at Skaven versus the Dark Elves. 1600 points. We got Blood and Glory scenario. And let's jump into deployment. So from left to right, we have a Hell Pit Abomination for the Skaven. We have a unit of 20 Clan Rats, another unit of 20 Clan Rats, a Grey Seer, a Plague Priest, a Battle Standard Bearer Chieftain, Rat Dart unit of Giant Rats, 40 Slaves, and a Warlock Engineer. This one has the Condenser. Skaven Slaves, another 40 block with a Engineer. This one's got a Doom Rocket, and fitting that it's right next to the Doom Wheel. Alright, on the Dark Elf side, 1600 points, we got 5 units of Dark Riders. We got 13 or so, actually I think that might be 15 Doomfire Warlocks. A Dreadlord, 5 more Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows. Battle Standard Bearer, Witch Elves, a block of 15. And then we have a Sorceress. All 3 of the Dark Elf characters are on Dark Pegasuses, and they are going to be doing some dancing around. Cold One Chariot is off here to the right. So let's talk about spells and then the scenario. So for the Dark Elves, the Sorceress is a level 2, and she's rocking the Lore of Fire for something different. And she has Burning Head and Fireball. The Doomfire Warlocks, of course, have their Soul Blight and Doombolt. And the Skaven Grey Seer, he rolled 1 for Warpstone tokens, but his spells, 2 from Ruin and 2 from Plague. The Ruin spells, Crack's Call and Howling Warp Gale. And he also has Pestilence Breath and Blessed with Filth. Now the Plague Priest is a level 2 sorcerer, and he rolled Plague and Wither. Alright, so the Dark Elves' Fortitude is 6, and the Skaven's Fortitude is 5. And since it's 1600 points, they need to be down to 2 points to break, and for the other side to win. So let's go on to see first turn. Dark Elves managed to go first after the Skaven did drop so many drops. Alright, no charges for the Dark Elves. The Dark Riders move up, everything kind of shuffles into magic position so they're in good range to cast their magic spells. We also have, I really like the Dark Elf player positioning the Dark Riders and the Cold One Chariot on the hill so that next turn, if they get a charge off, they get that extra +1. A lot of people forget about that, including me, so that's definitely going to come in handy. Just a little bit of shimmying, just left and right, a little aggressive with some of the more combat units the Dark Elves had. In the magic phase, it's 8 to 6. Right away, 6 dice, boosted Doombolt from the Warlocks onto that Hell Pit Abomination. They rolled 16 Strength 5 hits, which caused 8 wounds, but the Hell Pit makes 5 regens, so he's only takes 3 wounds. And in the backlash, 2 Warlocks die, taking the D3 instead of doing the miscast table. The Dark Riders managed to get 4 wounds on the Giant Rats, who passed their leadership test, and they stick around just there, and there's no combat. Alright, next turn, the Skaven are going to be moving up. We got the Giant Rat coming up here to do some redirecting. We have the Hell Pit going up as far as it can, only 9 inches on his 3d6 random move, and the Doom Wheel goes up 13 inches, just shy of crashing into that Cold One Chariot, but it is the closest target, so that Chariot is likely to get zapped in the shooting phase. And that's what happens. The Doom Wheel zaps the Chariot for 3 strength, 8 hits, causing 12 wounds, and yep, it died. Alright, so that's the top of the turn. No combat. Important magic for that phase was 3 to 2, and the Grey Seer, having such a low casting pool, was able to only get off 1 spell, but sometimes having that low casting power is beneficial because it pretty much guarantees you're going to get that 1 spell off. Howling Warp Gale does go off, -1 to flying, -1 to shooting, and the flyers cannot fly. So that was huge. And there's the top of turn 2. Alright, Dark Elves. So, Witches do a failed charge, so they kind of stumble forward just a little bit. The Dark Riders go ahead and charge into those giant rats. We have the other Dark Riders moving up on the left flank, and the Doomfire Warlocks maneuvering around the Hell Pit Abomination, Fast Cav, doing their Dark Elf shenanigans. The BSB has managed to march up like that on their Pegasus. The Dreadlord's over here, and the Sorceress kind of moves over here. Shame about those Witch Elves, but that's the way it goes. Magic, 4-3. So a 10 plus needed for a boosted fireball on the Hell Pit, which the Dark Elf Sorceress manages to cast irresistibly. Only manages 4 hits though, and only causes 1 wound, but no more regen for the Hell Pit. Still got 2 wounds left, so not dead, but certainly getting there. Shooting, -1 because of Howling Warp Gale. No wounds are caused. And in the combat, the Dark Riders just overrun into the Sorceress, killing those giant rats quite easily. And there we have that there. All right. Skaven, turn 2. Slaves fail a charge. These slaves right here, needing a 5, and they roll a 1 and a 3. So that sucks. The slaves these slaves march up, and the Doom Wheel moves 10 inches, Hell Pit moves 8 inches, and the Gutter Runners fail to come on the board. I forgot to mention the Skaven player was rocking some Gutter Runners, held in reserve, and they forgot to come on, or they failed to come on. Magic, 5-4. First thing, Plague. Needs a 16, Dark Elf player rolls a 15, so Plague does go off, and the BSB, he targets the BSB, and the BSB suffers 1 wound, failing his toughness test. It does bounce, chooses the Clan Rat unit because it rolled a 1, so the spell's coming back from the BSB back here to the Clan Rats unit with all these characters. It's unlucky that you rolled that 1 where the enemy gets to choose where that bounces to. The Grey Seer and the Priest and the BSB all fail and get affected. Only the Grey Seer makes his ward save. So the Plague Priest and the BSB all both take a wound. 9 Clan Rats die in the backlash. They tried to keep going on a roll of a 6. The Skaven player does get to choose, and so he passes it back to the Sorceress. She passes, and then they choose to roll it again. This time it's a 1, which means the Dark Elf player now gets to choose where it goes. Bounces to the Skaven Slaves 2, which are just barely in range. 17 slaves die, the engineer's okay, and then it ends, finally. Plague is just one of those funny spells where it can just keep going. It's like Foot of Gork. And the fact that your opponent gets to choose where it goes to if you roll a 1 is just hilarious. Alright, Doom Wheel rolls 3 strength 10 hits on the witches, and yep, 3 witches die. And the Clan Rats being reduced. Clan Rats being reduced, and the slaves being reduced. Alright, Dark Elf turn 3. We got 3 charges. We got the Dark Riders and the Dreadlord into the slave block, and the Witch Elves into the other slaves. They both made it. Everything else jumps behind the Skaven player, just to maneuver outside of their front arcs. Magic is 9-7. The Sorceress attempts a boosted, the Doomfire Warlocks attempt a boosted Soul Blight. It gets dispelled on 5 dice, however. Then they try a medium fireball. Needing a 16, it goes off. With 2 dice left, they irresistibly dispel it, though. So, not a whole lot happened. I'm sure the Sorcerers really would have loved to have that Hell Pit Abomination taken off, but what are you going to do? Dark Riders shoot and kill 3 Clan Rats from the Clan Rat block up here, C2. And in combat, the slaves stick around after the BSB rerolling, needing a 7. The Dreadlord hits 6 times and manages to kill 2 wounds. The witches slaughter 12 slaves, loads of poison attack. However, there's 40 of them, and there's going to be a lot to chew through. So, that combat's sticking around. They lose 2 witches in the combat, though, which I think's probably a pretty fair trade. 13 slaves for 2 witches. All right. So there's the top of the turn. Now we're on Skaven turn 3. Movement. The Hell Pit fails to make it into contact with the Doomfire Warlocks, needing a 7 and failing to roll a 7 inches. The Doomwheel, however, gets a rear charge on the witches, and 2 Clan Rats units just turn to face their opposing threat from the Dark Riders and the Warlocks, as well as the Sorceress and the BSB, now that they've jumped behind them. Magic is 8-3, a humongous magic phase for the Skaven. This is a real big break that they needed. So they start off by doing 2 dice Howling Warp Gale. It goes off. They cast then Wither, but it's dispelled. They have 2 dice left, the Skaven. The Gracier decides to eat his Warpstone token and use his 3 dice on Crack's Call, targeting the BSB and the Sorceress, doing a line like that through them. Now, they have really high initiatives, but you got to take the chance because it's an immediate remove from play spell, and if they do roll that 6, then they are taken off. However, they both pass, so there goes that strategy. And the shooting, the Doomwheel, again, strength 6 kills 3 witches who just died to those Doomwheel lightning zaps. In combat, only 4 wounds on the slaves from this combat from the Dark Riders and the Dreadlord, which is remarkable. And they do 2 wounds back to the Dark Riders, which is not expected. They both failed their armor saves. Alright, 17 hits and 11 wounds on this slave unit, and 11 slaves bite the dust, and the Doomwheel does 11 attacks, 10 wounds, and manages to kill the remaining witches to a man, which is pretty fortunate for the Skaven player to remove those witches and to not have lost their Doomwheel. Alright, so now we're going to move up here to Dark Elves turn 2. You see we got a BSB onto the back of the slave block here. Everything else just sort of moves up and avoids. The Dark Riders back up, and the Sorceress backs up a little bit, and the Dark Riders move around to the flank of these Clan Rats. Their magic phase, it's 5-on-5, so a boosted Fireball, just the medium one, on the Hell Pit Abomination. However, they failed to cast. It was really unfortunate. This Hell Pit could come in and wreck face. 3 dice for a boosted, or sorry, not a boosted Doom Bolt, just a regular Doom Bolt. But however, the Skaven player still has all 5 of his dice left and easily dispels it. The Dark Riders kill 1 Clan Rat, and in combat, the Dreadlord kills 5 rats, the BSB kills 2 more rats, the 2 Pegasus kill 2 more rats, and 3 Dark Riders kill the remaining 2 rats, and the Engineer before they get a chance to attack, and they get to do their reform. And they reform like that. Alright, Skaven turn 4. Movement. A lot of charges. The Clan Rats charge into the Doomfire Warlocks. The Hell Pit actually makes it into the Doomfire Warlocks as well. The Clan Rat unit, which is acting like a bunker, charges the Sorceress unit, who elects to hold, seeing that they're pretty close to the board edge and not wanting to go off. Slaves into the back of the Dreadlords, and the Doomwheel is hoping to get a rear charge against the Dreadlord. However, they decide that's a lot of bodies to chew through. I'm pretty much safe if I were to flee, so they flee, and the Dark Riders also elect to flee as well. So for Magic, we got 3-2. This game's just been really crappy Magic phases, except for that other Skaven phase where they channeled like 3 times and the Condenser also channeled, giving them a humongous power difference in dice. It's been pretty low. So, the Sorceress has been withered, and that was the only spell that really got off, which is just an attempt to sort of make them her easier to kill in combat. In shooting, the Doomwheel zaps 3 slaves at strength 4 shots and kills a few of them. So, poor slaves. In combat, the Sorceress issues a challenge The Gracier accepts having the best ward saves and the most wounds out of all those characters. The Sorceress fails to wound. The Gracier fails to wound. The Pegasus she's riding also fails to wound. It's going to be coming down to static combat res. Even though that she's down by 5 and has a leadership of 8, with the BSB reroll, because he's close enough, needing a 3, she makes a 3, a 2 and a 1, without the need for a reroll. So that was awesome. She sticks 3 impact hits from the Hell Pit Abomination. Could have been better, D6 plus 1, but hey, 3 hits is still good 3 impact hits. They cause 2 wounds. 2 4-up wards are made, so only 1 Warlock bites it. They managed to get 9 poison attacks through in total on the Hell Pit Abomination, and it just dies. They target that thing first before it could do its regular attacks. And the Clan Rats managed to kill 2 hits on the Doomfire Warlocks, and they both failed to wound. So, again, Skaven not the best in combat. There we go. There's the Hell Pit dying. Dark Elves, turn 5. The Dreadlord rallies. The Dark Riders fail to rally, and they keep fleeing another 5 inches. The BSB moves into the back of the Clan Rats. The Dark Riders into the back of the Clan Rats also. In Magic phase, we got 8 to 9. And this is another ridiculous phase where the Skaven player just channels so much from having 2 Engineers, Plague Priest, Gracier, and a Condenser. Having more Dispel dice than the casting player has power dice. It's really unfortunate for this Dark Elf player. But they attempt a boosted Soul Blight. 6 dice. It fails to go off, and they have no more spells that they really want to do or can do, since everything is coming down to being in combat right now. Alright, shooting. There is no shooting. Everything's in combat. The Warlocks kill 9 rats. 1 from the Dark Riders. Clan Rats kill 1 Dark Rider. They lose, but they roll a double 1, and they stick around. Those insanely courageous rats. They should have been pummeled right there. The Sorceress and the Gracier are still on that challenge, and they fail to wound each other, making their ward saves and failing to wound a bunch of other hits. Alright, however, the Dark Pegasus that the Sorceress is riding manages to kick the Gracier in the head and cause a wound. The BSB does 2 wounds to the Dark Pegasus and kicks over another rat. The rats attack back, but they can't get past the BSB's armor, having a 1-up armor save. The Clan Rats pass their Steadfast test, and they stick around, which is fortunate for them. Alright. And Dark Elves. Turn 5. Alright. Yeah, and there's just the result after the combat. Alright, Skaven turn 5. Slaves move into the back of the BSB. The Doomwheel rolls 15 inches and catches into him as well. For Magic, the Skaven player rolls boxcars, so 12 dice to 6. The Skaven player then divides his power dice into 2 pools, 6 dice for Wither, which the Dark Elf player rolls all 6 of his dice and irresistibly dispels that one. He then tries to do Blessed with Filth with the remaining 6 dice, and it of course goes off. Actually, he only needed 3 dice to roll Blessed with Filth. He didn't need to increase his odds of miscasting, seeing that Blessed with Filth isn't a high casting value spell. In the shooting, there's a few Strength 3 hits, wounds from the Doomwheel on the BSB, but no wounds. In combat, the Warlocks kill the last of the Clan Rats. 2 impact hits from the Doomwheel. 2 hits, 1 wound goes through, and 1 wound on the BSB, which is fantastic. And the Sorceress duel with the Gracier. The Seer fails to wound him, but she makes her ward save. The BSB takes 2 poison wounds, but the armor saves them both. The Slaves rage behind the BSB, getting 6 hits, 2 wounds. But again, that armor save proves to be too much for those slaves to penetrate. The Doomwheel, however, generates 7 attacks, 2 of which wound and only 1 gets saved. So that's another wound on the BSB, and he's almost dead. Alright, that's the top of the Skaven turn 5. We're going to Dark Elves turn 6. Last turn of the game. Movement. The Dreadlord charges into the Clan Rat unit. Everything else just sort of moves around. The Dark Riders fail the rally and they flee another 11 inches. At this point, if they were to lose one more banner, the Dark Elf player would lose its fortitude. And if the Skaven player loses their BSB or battle standard or standard bearer from the Clan Rat unit, they would also be at 2, breaking point 2. So, magic phase 7 to 7. Again, the Skaven just channel like a boss. Boosted Soul Blight, hoping that they get it off irresistibly, but they don't, and it's dispelled on 7 dice. There's no shooting. In combat, we got the Dreadlord issuing a challenge, which the paw leader of the Clan Rats accepts, and that's one reason why you always take a paw leader with your Clan Rats or your slaves, so if someone does issue a challenge, you can feed them your champion. Alright. So, he gets 3 wounds, kills the paw leader. The wizard combat, they still are in this pillow fight where they're failing to wound each other. It just ends up being that the horses get another wound through on the Gracier, bringing him dangerously close to dying, being on 1 wound left. The BSB does get a wound, and the Doomwheel punks the last wound off him, and the BSB goes down for the Dark Elves. So that right there is bringing them really close to their breaking point. They've lost their BSB, they've lost their Witches, which was their other banner. Their 2 last banners are in the Dark Rider units, and then the Dreadlord's their general. Now for the Skaven, the Gracier is their general, so there's 2 breaking point. The BSB's in here, and there's a standard bearer as well. So it's kind of coming down to a race to see who can kill each other's banners quickest. Alright, so there's a look at the top of the turn. Skaven turn 6, last turn of the game. Movement. The slaves move up, and the Doom Wheel charges into the Doomfire Warlocks, and the slaves make it into the Doomfire Warlocks. In hindsight, this probably wasn't a good idea for the Skaven player, because these Warlocks are nasty in combat, and you're just feeding them points. However, there is a fair amount of slaves there that they're going to have to chew through. And if they don't kill them all, it could be a really bad thing for the Skaven player. However, they do remember to bring on the Gutter Runners. The Gutter Runners were sitting in reserve the entire game, kind of just forgotten about, and then they rolled up and came in turn 6, which is fantastic because they managed to arrive right in front of these Dark Rider units, which they're going to get some pretty easy shots on. Alright, Skaven Magic is 7 to 4. Blessed with Filth goes off on the Clan Rats. And actually, this Blessed with Filth was on them earlier. This Blessed with Filth was on the slaves. So again, trying to hope they really push that combat and relying on magic to do so. Shooting, the Doomwheel zaps strength 8 hits on the Warlocks and kills 2 of them. And the Gutter Runners managed to kill the Dark Riders. So, bonus, there's another banner down. They're each at pretty close to the breaking point. In combat, the Dreadlord pops the BSB in a challenge, kind of forcing him to be used. The Gracier pops the wound on the Sorceress, but she still has 1 remaining. The Doomwheel does 3 impact hits, which causes 1 wound. The Warlocks killed 10 slaves, and they managed to kill 2 back because of their poison from Blessed with Filth, so that's not too bad. The slaves explode, and the Doomwheel goes 10 inches away, and the Warlocks pursue 7, but fail to catch them. Had the slaves not entered that combat, the Skaven player probably would have won. But as it turns out, it is a victory to the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves have 986 points remaining, and the Skaven have 814. So it's a minor Dark Elf victory. But at the end of the game, we also forgot to factor in that 2 clan rat units each had a poison wind mortar, which would have really helped early game in eliminating possibly some of those characters. But when you forget rules and you forget units and you forget to bring on units, you know, that's just what happens, and you can't go back in time and say what would have happened. But there you have it. Thank you for watching. This was a new style of battle report. I think I'm going to do a few more. Once again, if you want to check out Battle Chronicler, this is a program that lets you document your battle reports. Most people use it for posting on forums, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Let me know what you think. How did this turn out visually? Does it work as a video? Is it terrible? Should I stick to doing pictures? Let me know your thoughts. I like it because I can see different armies and see how they play. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.